You're now tuned into Lonnie's Bigfoot Stories podcast. Your stories out of his mouth.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to episode 2 of Lonnie's Bigfoot Stories. I want to say thank you to Clay off of Facebook who sent this one in. He's right down the road in Lynchburg, not too far from where I'm sitting right now, actually. This one takes place back in the summer of 1979 off of Coal Mountain, which is just northwest of Lynchburg, Virginia. Clay says this one happened to his daddy Owen and his pawpaw Hugh. Turns out that Owen and pawpaw Hugh, all those hunting trips they said they were always going on, it turned out to be they were moonshiners, basically. And they had a still set up there on Coal Mountain. Well, they had a run or batch or whatever you want to call it. They had one fermenting, and they say it takes about a week and a half, sometimes 2 weeks depending on temperature, for the shine to ferment. Well, they went up there one day to go check on it. Basically, if you don't know much about moonshine, the ideal place to set up a still is near, or obviously a river, a stream that's got some nice cold water coming through. And obviously you wanted a place that's really hard to get to. You don't want tourists walking by or the sheriff or anybody else. They make their way up to their spot deep in the woods off of Coal Mountain. When they get to the still site, they see that it's been wrecked. I mean, it looks like somebody went in there with sledgehammers and beat the hell out of this damn thing. They had a 53-gallon wooden drum. You know, like those big, whatchamacallit, those Jim Beam barrels with the whiskey in it. One of those things weighs about 120 pounds. Not full. Full, you're talking about 440 pounds, 500 pounds full. This damn thing was crushed flat. Like the 6 steel bands that go around the barrel. It's a white oak barrel, by the way. White oak. That is some tough, hard wood right there. It wasn't smashed with an axe. What they saw, this thing looked like it had been run over by a dump truck. It was crushed flat. So Owen and Pawpaw Hugh immediately think, okay, all right, the sheriff and his boys, they came up here and found this, and they're done. They're done working with us. So basically, moonshiners pay what's called a granny fee. A granny fee is just some hush money for the sheriff. You either pay him in gallons of your, what do he call it? He call it mule kick water. You pay him a couple gallons of mule kick water, or you pay him in cash. Leave you alone. One of those 53-gallon barrels back then, their drums or whatever, back then, I mean, that was worth like $2,000 worth of mule kick water gone. Well, Pawpaw Hugh, first thing he does, he hightails it over to the sheriff's office. He goes into that sheriff's office, and he's pretty much picking a fight with the man you don't want to pick a fight with. He almost got arrested over this. And the sheriff's like, I had no idea what you're talking about, Hugh. He's like, I ain't been up to your spot in 6 months. And besides, I already knew about it. There ain't nothing. Pawpaw Hugh, he didn't believe him. I mean, they've had their run-ins. I guess they were childhood friends or something. But there's a lot of back history there that Clay didn't write in. But there must be more to that story, I'm guessing. But he did say that his Pawpaw Hugh called the sheriff a 24-karat asshole, which I like that term. I think that's a good one. I'll save that one for myself. So basically, the next day, Pawpaw Hugh and Owen said, well, we got to go find a new spot. We got to go find a new distillery spot. So they make their way back up to Coal Mountain. And they're walking down and following the stream, looking for a better spot. And they finally find a place that's right near this cliff. And it's on either side of the stream. He said there's about a 50-foot wall of rock cliffs, sheer rock cliffs, which is pretty good because it's not a good place for people to kind of venture off and wander onto your site by. It's a pretty dangerous place to be around there. So they're like, well, if we're going to set up a place, this looks like the best place to do it. Well, that was Owen speaking. But Pawpaw Hugh, he wanted to take a better look. He was never satisfied. I mean, from what Clay said, he's basically a guy who he's always had, 1 foot here, 1 foot there. He was always looking for the better option, I guess. So he looks on top of that ridge, about 50-foot rock face cliff, and says, let's go up there and let's just see if we can get a better view and just scout around, make sure this is it. This is the spot. Well, they cut through the woods and wind their way back up and finally get on top of that ridge, and they can see pretty much everything now because they're 50 foot up. They're above the tree line. And they look down, they're looking over. He said they're looking north, and then they kind of look back down south, And they're pretty far downstream, but they can see it from the vantage point they're at. They see what looks like a bear wrestling an 8-point buck in the water. They're looking and looking and looking, and then they realize that ain't no bear. This thing is holding this 8-point buck with one arm underwater while this thing is thrashing and kicking for its life. This thing turns around, looks at both of them up on that ridge, and just stares at them. So Owen and Hugh, they're staring at this damn thing, and they're like, what? They're not even saying a word. They're just trying to register what the hell they're looking at. And sure enough, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it. And this is all happening in broad daylight. Like it's not nighttime. They don't have, a crappy flashlight or nothing like that. They see what they see in broad daylight, clear as day. This thing's staring at them, just staring at them. Right about then, Owen said, rocks the size of watermelons come flying up from that below that tree line, the 50-foot tree line, the 50-foot cliff they're standing on. These watermelon-sized rocks come flying up from below over their head and landing on the other side of them, smashing against the other rocks, like one after the other, just bam, bam, bam. They take off running. You tell me what can throw watermelon-sized rocks can be over 100 pounds, probably 125 pounds. I mean, that's solid stone right there. And it's coming up from 50 feet below, through the tree line, mind you. It's breaking branches, coming up through the tree line, over their head, and then crashing on the other side of them. So they hightail it back to the truck, and from that day forward, according to Clay, they were done with moonshining, at least on Cold Mountain. Clay said that was pretty much the only experience in his family that he's heard of. But he said his daddy to this day, he knows what he saw, and he don't give a damn whether you believe him or not. He was there, you weren't. So anyway, I thought it was a pretty cool story, and I appreciate it, Clay. Thanks for writing in on that one. Hey, listen, you guys got any more? Just send them into my Facebook, Lonnie Trucks at Facebook, or my Gmail, LonnieTrucks101@gmail.com. I appreciate it, man, and stay tuned. We got them coming every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Take care, y'all.